Well, it has certainly been a very, very long time since my last Dead by Daylight video. Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Rage. Welcome back to another one of my discussion videos, or should I say Dead by Daylight discussion videos. For anyone who is new to the channel, thank you guys so much for stopping by. And for my current viewers and subscribers, thank you once again for tuning in. You guys are the reasons why I do what I do. So without further ado, let's get straight into the topic of today's discussion video. Now, as I said in the beginning, it has been a very, very long time since my previous Dead by Daylight rant video, and some things have happened since that video has been made. You know, a lot of behavior things have happened since that video has been made. So, as you guys know, the latest update for Dead by Daylight has dropped, and it has done a lot of crazy shit. Let's just say that both sides have pretty much been impacted by this update, and I would say in both negative and positive ways. Now, in my very first Dead by Daylight video, the reasons why I made my very first Dead by Daylight video was because I was a very pissed off killer main. And for the most part, I still am a somewhat pissed off killer main, okay? I'm gonna start off with some positive things first, alright? Because, you know, here's the thing. I do not want to be as negative as I was in my previous Dead by Daylight rant videos, because you see, this is not even really a rant video. And you see, the thing about my rant videos in general is I'm getting a little frustrated of making all of these rant videos because I feel like I am not making enough positive videos to, you know, balance it. Because like the fact that I'm making all these rant videos on these negative subjects and these things that I just don't like, it's kind of impacting my mental health in a bad way. So I feel like I'm just not doing enough positive things to balance out with the negative things. Okay, I love doing rant videos just as much as the next angry asshole on YouTube, but I think I'm overdoing it, you know? So I'm just gonna try and be a bit more positive. So to do that, let's obviously be positive. So Dead by Daylight in 2023, is the game worth your hard-earned money? And in my honest opinion, it's going to either depend on you, your preferences. It is also going to depend on if you have a lot of friends, because if you do not have friends to play with you in this game, then I'm gonna have to say no. However, one of the reasons why Dead by Daylight was such a good game specifically for me is because I actually did make a lot of friends playing this game. And I think that's probably one of the best things about Dead by Daylight. Ironically, the game's community is absolutely terrible, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I actually have made some pretty good friends, and my still best friend, Stefan, aka TTV, his name is TTV. I'm not gonna say his last name because it's inappropriate, but he's one of my best friends, and I met him playing Dead by Daylight. So, you know, honestly, when it comes to social ability, there is a somewhat decent chance that you might make some good friends on DBD and you might have a better experience because of that. If you already do have friends, then I'm going to say yes, maybe. You see, the biggest problem with Dead by Daylight, in my honest opinion, is honestly the game design. I've said this before in my previous rant videos. The game design of Dead by Daylight is absolutely terrible. I mean, it's way too simple. You know, the game design is just way too simple. As Survivor, your objective is obviously to survive the killer. But your second objective, to escape, is to just power on these generators that are scattered throughout the map. All maps, by the way. Yes, the objective never changes in Dead by Daylight. It is the same thing over and over and over again. I mean, this game is literally the definition of insanity. You are literally doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, with the deluded expectation that something is going to be different rather than it was the first time, even though it's not. I mean, nothing changes about this game's gameplay. You are pretty much doing the same thing every single goddamn time, and it gets boring real quickly. Honestly, the only thing that makes the game, like the only thing that spices it up, I guess you could say, is probably when it comes to Survivor, I guess you could say the perks, because the thing about the game's perks is this is pretty much what keeps the game alive besides, all of the game's updates and its DLC. The perks is definitely what keeps the game, I'd say it's what keeps the game alive. Because using different perks are interesting, because the thing about Dead by Daylight's perks is very similar with other games that use perks and stuff like that. You could pretty much make builds, perk builds. You could take perks that go good with each other and you can make really, really fun builds, or really sweaty and overpowered builds, depending on what kind of perks you're into. Because the game does have some good variety in its perks. Some perks help you survive better. Some perks are just for fucking with the killer, like, what's that one perk? That one perk where you hide inside the locker. Oh, Head On. Head On is a perk that basically, when you go inside of a locker, you could pretty much just punch the killer in the face by just, blowing the doors open on him and just stunning the killer. Other fun perks like Flashbang, for example, pretty much allow you to drop a flashbang and blind the killer. But yeah, some perks help you survive better. Some perks help you do generators better. Some perks help you to be more stealthy. Some perks help you heal faster. The perks do have a lot of variety, and that is one thing that I'm going to give the game props for, because the developers do a pretty good job with the perks. Even though a lot of them are similar, they're still different enough to actually make the experience feel a bit more fresher than it was the previous time you were using different perks. So I would say that the perks for Survivor specifically are pretty fun. And when it comes to making fun and interesting builds, or just really unique builds that actually go good with each other, because that's how you make builds in the first place. You're basically taking perks that go good with each other and stack with each other. That's what it means to make Survivor builds in the first place. That's what it means to make perk builds. So I'll admit, it is pretty fun. The perks in Dead by Daylight are pretty fun to use. Even if not all the perks actually are that useful, they're still fun to use, just to spice up the gameplay a little bit, because they do spice up the gameplay. Another pretty unique perk is this one perk called Diversion, where you could basically throw a pebble and it will basically cause a noise that will pretty much distract the killer. Because when you're playing as killer, when survivors make noise, you see this animation on screen, and you hear this pretty much it almost sounds like an explosion or something. But there's this one survivor perk that allows you to throw a pebble and it'll emit that same noise and animation. So it's good for distracting the killer, just like the perk says it's supposed to do. So the survivor perks are good, and so are the killer perks. Killer perks are also pretty fun to use. And making killer builds is even more fun than making survivor builds, because, playing as killer is supposed to be more fun than playing survivor, even though it's kind of not. And this, again, is what leads to the problem of the game: generators. There is only one single objective when you play survivor, and it is the same thing when you are playing as killer. As survivor, your objective is to survive and get the generators working. As killer, your objective is to kill the survivors and stop the generators from working. It's incredibly generic. Honestly, the only reason why Dead by Daylight has survived for as long as it has is because there's no competition. I mean, in this genre of asymmetrical survival horror, Dead by Daylight is the only game in this genre that has all these players, this large community, and is the only game that is actually still getting all these frequent updates. This is pretty much the only reason why Dead by Daylight has survived for as long as it had. And the reason why it's surviving is because, like I said earlier, there is no competition. I mean, games like Friday the 13th and Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, as well as Evil Dead. First of all, Friday the 13th died, very tragically, because of that fucking lawsuit. Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed is a terrible game, and Evil Dead, I don't want to say Evil Dead is a bad game, but it's got problems of its own that make it not as good as Dead by Daylight, unfortunately. So this is probably the only reason why Dead by Daylight is still alive, because there is simply no competition to actually make behavior rethink their strategy when it comes to actually updating this piece of shit game and actually making new things for it. Because in behavior's mind, the only thing that people want is just new updates and new DLCs and new licenses. But people like me want the game to actually be more than what it has been for so many years now, because Dead by Daylight has literally been the same game since 2016. It came out all the way back in 2016, and barely anything has changed since then. This game has literally been the exact same experience since 2016. The only thing that has added diversity into this game are the perks. That is the only thing that makes the game different than what it is now. Because the perks and the DLC, and that's cool and all, but people like me are starting to get tired of it. You see, I am a dedicated Dead by Daylight player. I have deleted this game so many times and have ended up reinstalling it once again and playing it once again because I cannot get away from this game, and I have accepted that I probably never will. So yes, I'm a dedicated Dead by Daylight player, and I do love this game. I love what the developers have created here. No other horror game can I have Leon Kennedy being chased by Demogorgon in the Silent Hill Midwich map. It is so amazing how many horror characters are in this game. It is amazing how so many horror characters are all in this one game. I mean, Dead by Daylight is literally a museum of some of the most iconic horror characters in the entire genre. Ash Williams, Bill Overbeck, the Resident Evil characters, the Silent Hill characters, Ghostface, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, all of these amazing horror franchises and characters all in one game. It is so amazing. And you see, this is probably another reason why Dead by Daylight has gotten away with being the same game, because it pretty much relies on its licensed DLC. This is probably the reason why Behavior doesn't want to change the game, because in their mind, they don't have to. Because in their mind, in order to actually make the game survive, and in order to keep the people coming back, the players coming back, just make more licensed DLC. Just get more licensed DLC. And I'll admit, it is a good strategy. I mean, this strategy has kept Dead by Daylight alive for almost a decade now. So yes, it's a good strategy. But the least Behavior could do is actually make the game different. Add some new stuff into the game. I mean, a new game mode, something. I mean, like I said earlier, and like I've been saying in all of these Dead by Daylight discussion and rant videos I've been making, the generator thing, it is too old. We have been repairing generators and kicking generators since 2016. I mean, it never changes. It just never goddamn changes. And it's just getting so old and frustrating now. I mean, the formula of Dead by Daylight, at first it was okay. But honestly, at first, you was probably expecting that the game would have gotten more updates that changed the gameplay formula eventually in the future. But the fact that it hasn't is just crazy to me. I mean, when I first started playing Dead by Daylight, I actually thought there was more game modes. Because, before I did play Dead by Daylight, I didn't have internet, nor did I actually have a next-generation console to play Dead by Daylight on. I mean, I was stuck with an Xbox 360 and a PS3 for a long time, so I saw gameplay videos of Dead by Daylight. I mean, this is the reason why I played it in the first place, and I saw that the main objective is doing generators, right? But that was years before I actually got to play the game myself. By that time, I thought that the developers might have already added in some new game modes or something by the time I actually played the game, because I started playing DBD in late 2019. I think anyways. I can't remember exactly, but I would have thought that they would have already added in a new game mode or something. I mean, just think about it. Think about how much people would be happy if the game would have gotten a new game mode. I mean, Behavior could still do this. I mean, Behavior could still add in a new game mode and make the game better. I mean, just do something different. I mean, for Pete's sake, man. I mean, the game has not changed since 2016. I don't understand how people actually, maybe I do. I mean, I'm addicted to this game. Okay, I am addicted to this game like a drug addict on heroin. Okay, I am just addicted to this fucking game, and I have no clue why. So maybe I do understand why people still like this game, but look, Behavior sees how dedicated their players are. They see how big the Dead by Daylight community really is. So if they see how dedicated the people of this game are, and if they see how much the players actually still love this game, despite the experience not changing, almost a decade after its release, then why doesn't Behavior try and make a new game mode? Why don't they try and spice things up a little bit? Look, I understand that the perk system in Dead by Daylight is good and all, but it's getting a little old, and I'm getting tired of Behavior relying on all of this new DLC to keep the game alive and fresh. It's just getting really old now. And you see, speaking of the perk system, this is what leads me into the second problem of Dead by Daylight, and this comes from the buffs and nerfs. You see, and this is also a problem because of Dead by Daylight's horrible community. Holy Mother of God himself. This game's community is absolutely horrendous. I don't think I have ever experienced such a hateful, abusive, and toxic community in all my life. I've said this before on this channel, and I will say it again. Playing Dead by Daylight and interacting with its community will choke you like actual radiation poison. You must wear a gas mask to interact with this game's toxic community, or else you will get some kind of radioactive poisoning. Because holy crap, is this game's community toxic as fuck. I have never seen so much hatefulness and toxicity and entitlement and hypocrisy all in one freaking community. Jesus Christ Almighty. I have seen so much horrible shit in this game. You know, it's funny how Dead by Daylight is a horror game, and the scariest thing about it is its community. This is probably why Dead by Daylight is a horror game. It's not because of all of these amazing horror IPs, it's because of the game's community. It's the community that makes this a horror game, because you will see some truly horrific stuff in this game's horrible community. All the way down from hatefulness, racism, homophobia, everything. Hell, I have even seen stalking. I have never had so many people tell me to kill myself, all because of how I played a game that they didn't like. This game's community is absolutely horrible, and my God, the entitlement. I mean, you've got one side crying because you played the game a way they didn't like, even though that I paid for this game of my hard-earned money, so I can play it however the fuck I want. Or you've got other people who use extremely unfair and annoying perks, but then get mad at you for doing the exact same thing. The amount of hypocrisy and entitlement is so fucking bad with this game's community. And it goes hand in hand with the perks. You see, remember I told you guys about the perks? Well, there are some perks in Dead by Daylight that kind of are annoying for the other side. For example, perks like Dead Hard, which have thankfully been nerfed by the way, but perks like Dead Hard were extremely annoying and stressful for killers because it pretty much gave you a free pass to avoid getting a hit when you are playing as Survivor, and that pretty much just fucks over the killer, especially if you have a team that is actually gen rushing and is, you know, being good on objectives and, you know, altruism as well, you know, taking hits and stuff, you know, because that's the thing. I have said this before on this channel and I will say it again. Survivor is much more OP than killer. You see, the thing about killer in Dead by Daylight is a lot of killers in this game are simply weak. Basically, in Dead by Daylight, you know, because if you guys didn't already know this, each killer in Dead by Daylight has their own unique ability. And this ability is what makes them either a strong killer or a weak killer. But you see, the thing is, weak killers should not be in Dead by Daylight. There should not be any weak killers because killer is already severely underpowered, especially against Survivor. You see, these days, most of the time, the only time the killer will actually win is if the survivors make a mistake or if you're going against dumb survivors, okay? Because if a good killer or a dumb killer is going against dumb survivors, then the dumb killer is going to win, you know, because like I just said, if the survivors are dumb or if they are inexperienced or if they are just not very good at the game, obviously the killer is going to win. But if the survivors are extremely good at the game, then there is a good chance that the killer is going to lose, even if the killer is also a good player and knows how to play the game. And this has nothing to do with skill. This has fuck all to do with skill, because like I just said, Each killer in Dead by Daylight has a specific ability, their own special abilities. And here's the thing, it does not matter how good of a killer you are. If the killer has a shitty ability, then you are probably not going to win against really, really good survivors. And you see, when it comes to playing Survivor, like, what does it mean to be a good survivor? Well, of course, this also comes back to the game's design, which is, again, a problem, because what does it mean to be a good survivor? Well, of course, looping. Looping is basically just running the killer around, dropping pallets on their head, and basically just wasting their time. You see, the thing is, when it comes to Dead by Daylight's maps, some maps specifically are extremely survivor-sided. And what is a survivor-sided map? Basically, it's a map that has extremely strong loops. You know, strong jungle gyms, LT walls, etc., etc. Or strong vault locations, whatever you want to call it, you know. On these maps, you could loop some killers for more than 5 minutes, you know. You can loop killers for extremely long periods of time. It's basically just called running the killer, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You're basically just making the killer chase after you, and you could do it for a very long time. Unless the killer decides to chase someone else, and when they decide to chase someone else, well, then they're just gonna get looped again. I mean, you see, that's the thing. If you are playing in a squad, like if you're playing in a group, and if you know how to effectively loop the killer as well as all of your fellow teammates or your friends or whatever, like, you know, just your group, like if you and your group are really good at looping, there is a very good chance that that killer is not going to win the game. Okay, you can pretty much assume that you've already won the game, actually, because looping is kind of OP. But it's only OP to certain killers, okay? This again goes back to the weak killer discussion. Because like I said, there are very weak killers in this game. Killers like Pinhead, Trickster, Sudoku, Pig, all of these killers are extremely weak. Especially killers like Trapper and Wraith as well. I mean, Wraith is somewhat better than Trapper, but killers like Trapper, Deathslinger as well, you know, because Deathslinger used to be a good killer, but he got nerfed into the ground. Like, behavior nerfed him into the fucking ground. So even Deathslinger is kind of a trash killer. But yeah, basically, weaker killers are not going to be able to win against high-skilled survivors. Because weak killers do not have any pressure. And that is the only way to counter loop when you are playing as a killer. Because like I said earlier, looping is overpowered when it comes to certain killers. Because the killer you are playing, if the killer you are playing does not have a strong power, they are not going to be able to counter loop. Let me try and make an example. Okay, a killer, for example, like Pinhead. Pinhead's power is literally to summon some stupid-ass chain that pretty much grabs the survivor for only a couple of seconds, and then survivors could just break out of it. That is an extremely weak power, and it is not going to put any pressure on a survivor who is looping you. You basically cannot counter loop, and you see, that's the thing. If you cannot counter loop as killer, then that's not good. I mean, there are other ways to counter loop, you know, by hiding your red stain, you know, because in order for a survivor to loop a killer, they have to see a killer's red stain, you know, so they could, you know, not fuck up and not get mind gamed. You could hide your red stain, although that doesn't always work half time, but that's how we're talking about here, okay? That's how we're talking about. We're talking about weaker killers. Okay, again, Trickster is another good example. Trickster is pretty much a weaker version of Huntress because Huntress can throw hatchets that injure survivors. In one hit, it injures survivor. Trickster, on the other hand, Trickster basically throws blades at you and it'll slowly injure a survivor. Trickster is literally just a weaker Huntress. And then, of course, you have Trapper, you know, one of the oldest killers in the game, as well as Pig. Pig also has no anti-loop. You see, killers who do not have pressure or anti-loop, these are weaker killers, because if your killer power cannot apply pressure or counter-loop survivors, then that is a weak killer. Killers like Pig, Trapper, Wraith, Trickster, Cinnabite, fucking, I said Cinnamon Bite. I mean, he looks like a fucking Cinnamon Bite. I mean, Pinhead is fucking garbage in this game. I mean, seriously. I'm going to make my own killer rank in a future video, you know, just so you guys can see who are my strongest killers, because there are strong killers in Dead by Daylight as well. You know, there are, I mean, you know, and not just like, you know, Nurse and Spirit and Hag. killers like Knight and Dredge, as well as the Artist, these killers do have significantly stronger powers. So when it comes to the killers, some killers are extremely weak and some killers are strong. And you see, I don't understand why Behavior keeps releasing these lower tier killers. Because lower tier killers like Skull Merchant, for example, because Skull Merchant is another weak killer. I mean, she's no better than Freddy. I mean, because she's similar to Freddy in my opinion. To me, I think she's somewhat similar to Freddy, and not just because of the Mori. You see, Behavior needs to make stronger killers, in order to make the game better for killers, because, like I said earlier, if you are good at looping, and if you are going against a lower tier killer like Trickster or Cinnabite, Pinhead, or Freddy, or even Myers, because even Myers is kind of a weak killer. You see, Myers is one of those killers that relies more on add-ons in order to be good. I mean, if you're looping a killer like that, then you could pretty much say that you've already won, because, like I said, if you are good at looping and if you know how to effectively loop the killer, then you are probably going to win, especially if it is a lower tier killer. The only other way a killer could win is if the survivors make a mistake, because killers can capitalize off of that, but that's pretty much it. Now, when it comes to the perks, some perks are kind of annoying to use. I mean, not annoying to use, but they're annoying for the other side. Same goes for killer perks as well. There are some killer perks that are also kind of annoying when it comes to playing Survivor. But like I said, the game is still pretty Survivor-sided. So this is mostly for Survivor, What do I think of this new update? To be honest, I would really prefer a new game mode. Because, you see, here's the thing. There is a reason why Survivor is a lot more easier than Killer, because the reason why is because it is a lot easier to win the game as Survivor than it is for Killer, because the objective for Survivor is so easy. I've said this before, but it is way too easy to win the game as Survivor than it is for Killer. Because even if you try and camp and tunnel a Survivor, that Survivor's teammates could just take hits. I do that when I play Survivor. You could take hits, you could use BT. Borrow Time is another Survivor perk, and it buys Survivor's time. Just like it's called. It's called Borrow Time. Those type of perks basically prevent camping and tunneling. So there's even ways to stop a killer from desperately trying to get a kill, because obviously killers only camp and tunnel when they're desperately trying to get a kill, like when they're getting gen rushed. There's ways to even prevent that. There's more a Survivor can do to prevent a killer from winning than a killer can prevent a Survivor from winning. There's not a lot a killer can do to prevent a Survivor from winning the game. There's more Survivors can do to prevent a killer from winning the game, because of those perks. And, not only that, but Survivors also pretty much have built-in borrowed time. I mean, Behavior has made it a lot harder to camp and tunnel these days. And again, this would all be fixed if the objective of the game was not as easy as it was for Survivor. Because like I said, the Survivor objective is just too easy. Doing generators is too easy. If the game had a different game mode, then I think this would probably make the game a bit more balanced. I mean, make a more balanced game mode. I mean, because the current game mode for Dead by Daylight, the one that we've had since 2016, I don't think it's that balanced, especially when you realize that it all relies on RNG. I mean, another example is if you're playing in solo queue and if your teammates are dumb and if you're not communicating, then there is a good chance that the killer is going to win, because this game relies on communication. I mean, that's why Survive with Friends groups are so dangerous and overpowered to the killer. Because if you are in a group that all knows what you're doing, and if it's an experienced group and if they're all communicating as well, that makes them a lot more dangerous to the killer. So if it's a solo queue and if there's no communication, and if your solo queue teammates are dumb, dumb as rocks or as dumb as a baby Dwight, then yeah, there's a good chance that the killer is going to win. But this is not because of the killer. This is because the survivors, most of the time, killers will only win when the survivors fuck up. That is the only time the killer will win. Or if it's a stronger killer. If it's a weaker killer, then there's a good chance that a weaker killer is not going to win. Unless it's solo queue. And even sometimes, even solo queue groups will win. Because sometimes even solo queue teammates could be good. Even though most of the time they're not. But yeah, in my opinion, I do not think Dead by Daylight is worth it in 2023. I mean, it might be. I mean, It all really depends. I mean, if you plan on playing Survivor with friends and you don't want to play killer that much, then it might be. I mean, Dead by Daylight is a decent party game, although I would prefer other party games like, Modern Warfare, or just other more fun party games, because Dead by Daylight is a party game at the end of the day. But yeah, in my opinion, it's not a very good one. I mean, the game is just incredibly frustrating on both sides. I mean, for the most part, it's killer. For the most part, the game is 99% frustrating only when it comes to killer. But even on Survivor side, it's kind of frustrating. Getting camped and tunneled out of the game just because you looped the killer for 5 gens, that's going to be frustrating. Or doing all the generators on your own and then, not having your teammates help you when you inevitably go down by the killer, that's pretty frustrating. I mean, or like when the killer is using really sweaty perks, it gets frustrating, it gets frustrating. So yeah, that about does it for this discussion video. In my opinion, I do not think Dead by Daylight is worth it in 2023. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the more less ranty video, because I'm trying not to rant as much as I used to. This is just me having a normal discussion. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion video. If you stuck by till the end, thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, y'all. Peace.